There was once a name that could send shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to stand in his way. John D. Rockefeller. Not just the world's first billionaire, but one of the most powerful and controversial figures in history. His empire, Standard Oil, didn't just dominate the oil industry. It redefined power itself. Rockefeller's legacy wasn't just one of wealth. It was a saga of control, manipulation, and survival in a cutthroat world. And yet, before the billions and before the empire, John D. Rockefeller was just a boy, born into poverty, with little more than a fierce determination to rise. Subscribe to Entreflix for more business documentaries. Chapter 1. The Poor Mr. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller was born in 1839 to a family of modest farmers. They didn't have much, just a crumbling farmhouse and fields that barely fed them. But young John had a fire in his soul, a fire that pushed him to dream beyond the life he was born into. His father, Devil Bill as they called him, was a man of tricks, a snake oil salesman, a wanderer, and a gambler. He would come and go, leaving John's family to fend for themselves. To John, these gifts were as confusing as they were exciting. One moment they had nothing, the next they were showered with luxuries. It was this constant chaos that taught John to value hard work and discipline. He took on ODD jobs, selling turkeys and working the fields to support his family. By the time he was just a boy, John was already pitching in a few dollars a week, small contributions that gave him a taste of financial power. Chapter 2. The Birth of a Businessman. John's dreams were larger than the small-town life he knew. At 16, he moved to Cleveland, ready to dive into the world of business. After countless rejections, he landed a job as a bookkeeper. For John, this wasn't just a job, it was an education. He learned how to manage money, negotiate deals, and most importantly, he realized he could be more than just an employee. He was fascinated by wealth and knew that someday he would be the one writing those checks. He began setting aside 10% of his small salary for charitable causes, a habit that would later define him as much as his ruthless business tactics. In 1859, at just 20 years old, John and his friend Morris Clark started a produce business. They worked tirelessly, buying and selling grain, beans, and meat, gradually building their enterprise. But then, an opportunity arose that would change everything. Chapter 3. Striking Black Gold. The lifeblood of a new era. In 1859, oil was discovered in Pennsylvania, and suddenly, everyone was talking about black gold. Rockefeller saw the opportunity immediately. He partnered with Samuel Andrews, a man who understood oil refining. Together, they bought a small refinery. Kerosene became their bread and butter, lighting homes and fueling the dreams of an expanding America. But oil was unpredictable. Prices would rise and fall, fortunes made and lost in the blink of an eye. Many thought oil would soon run out. Rockefeller was nervous but undeterred. He knew that if he could control refining, he could weather any storm. And when his partner Morris decided to cash out, John went all in, buying him out for a staggering $72,500. Rockefeller was now at the helm of his destiny. Chapter 4. The Rise of Standard Oil. Now, with his partner Henry Flagler, Rockefeller transformed his venture into Standard Oil. Together, they were unstoppable, negotiating deals that put their competition at a disadvantage. They colluded with railroad companies, securing secret discounts that allowed them to dominate the market. Railroads were the lifelines of the oil business, and Rockefeller knew it. As Rockefeller's empire expanded, Cleveland became the oil capital of America. While other refineries struggled, Rockefeller thrived. He bought out competitors, used his massive influence to crush any who stood in his way, and refined his methods as precisely as his oil. Chapter 5. The Power Play. Rockefeller's competitors never stood a chance. He acquired rival refineries and established near-total control over the oil industry. His secret agreements with railroads were his ace in the hole, allowing him to set prices and squeeze out those who couldn't keep up. But this wasn't enough. He wanted it all. Rockefeller's empire was now a behemoth. Competitors accused him of underhanded tactics, using bribes, threats, and price wars to destroy anyone in his way. And they weren't wrong. John was relentless, viewing business as a battlefield where only the strongest survived. He knew that to control the oil industry, he had to control every step of the process. So he began acquiring pipelines, refineries, and even the barrels used to store oil. This web of control allowed Rockefeller to create a new kind of empire, one that wasn't just rich. Standard Oil had a near monopoly on oil refining in the United States, dictating prices and setting the terms. But with this power came scrutiny. Journalists began to investigate, uncovering the ruthless tactics Rockefeller used to stay on top. Chapter 6: The Breakup of a Giant. By the early 1900s, Standard Oil had become a symbol of corporate greed, and the public demanded action. Under immense pressure, the U.S. government took Rockefeller to court. In 1911, the Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil had to be broken up under antitrust laws. For the first time, Rockefeller's empire was under threat, but as he watched his company split into dozens of smaller firms, Rockefeller smiled. He knew that these new companies would still be profitable, and in some cases, even more valuable. The breakup actually made him even richer. The pieces of Standard Oil became giants in their own right. Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, all still dominant in their own spheres. Rockefeller's influence continued to grow, even as his direct control over the oil industry faded. Chapter 7: The Philanthropist Emerges. As he grew older, Rockefeller shifted his focus from business to philanthropy. He gave away millions to universities, medical research, and public health initiatives. He funded the University of Chicago and was a founding contributor to the Rockefeller Foundation, which to this day supports a wide range of global causes. Rockefeller believed that his wealth was a gift to be shared. But was this charity, or was it redemption? The public remained divided. Chapter 8: Legacy of a Titan. Rockefeller's legacy is a complex one. He built an empire from nothing, transformed American industry, and amassed a fortune few could ever imagine. But his journey left a trail of defeated competitors, exploited workers, and a system of corporate power that still echoes today. He was a man of contradictions, a ruthless businessman with a generous heart. Was Rockefeller a hero or a villain? That's for history to decide. Even after his death at the age of 97, Rockefeller's impact lives on. His wealth set the stage for modern philanthropy, and his business practices shaped the way we view corporate power today.